Welcome back to the Abundant Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Allison Pereira, founder of abundancepracticebuilding.com. And I'm here with Maelisa McCaffrey today, who is at QAprep.com. And like Melissa's a go-to for all things notes, documentation, all of that. And today we're talking specifically about AI, which is such a hot topic. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I know that you have been like in a research tunnel about AI, making sure that you're sharing the right information with all your people, and I'm really glad you're going to share it with mine too. So,
Yeah.
can
Yeah. And it
we?
changes. It's so exciting because it changes every
Yes.
week.
I love your reframe. This isn't anxiety at all. It's excitement. Um, yeah, well, let's start with one of the first objections I hear is like, what about HIPAA? Or
Yeah,
should we first talk
absolutely.
about, let's even back up before that. How are people using AI in their practices right now? Let's start there.
Yes. Yes. So that is probably the thing that's changing the most and has changed the most, even just in the last 6 months.
Hmm.
So in general, the most common way that clinicians are using AI is for documentation,
Hmm.
right? Because that is kind of the biggest pain point. It's the easiest problem to solve with
Hmm.
AI immediately. Like we have
Yeah.
the resources to do that right now. And so people are using it. Some people are not using it well or accurately or ethically. And that's why we want to talk about the HIPAA thing, because I do
Hmm.
believe it can be life changing.
Yeah.
As like people have used that exact phrase with me many times. So I am absolutely not here to say don't use AI. I'm here to say use AI only when you consider these things.
Yes. Love it.
and um, but most clinicians are using it for things like treatment plans, progress notes. Some people are using it for things like helping with diagnosis, all the way up to, I think, the even more practical use for it, because you don't have to worry so much about the HIPAA stuff, are things like business templates, like email
Hmm.
templates for common responses or questions, help with writing blog posts,
Hmm.
creating resource lists for your county or your community, right? Like there are so many, um, AI can access so much information that you can use it to really save yourself time in a lot of data collection, resource collection, synthesizing information.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I'll also say, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this throughout, you got to vet what it gives you.
Yes.
And so if you're doing a resource list, for instance, there are so many reports of like ChatGPT giving resources that don't exist, studies that don't
Hmm.
exist, like case law that doesn't exist. So make sure you click around and just make sure everything is legit.
Yes, absolutely. Like my name has changed
Uh-huh.
because I got divorced. And so I have information from like running my business with two last names. And AI, I was using an AI that could actually what's the word I'm looking for? Like look through the internet and find information that was recent.
Hmm.
ChatGPT does not do that. It's using older information, which is part of the reason you're getting sometimes this inaccurate data. But even this one that's up to date, that's like a paid service, it was using my old last name. And
Hmm.
when I asked it why, it couldn't even tell me why it was using the last name. It was just like, "Oh, you're absolutely right," which is what they always do.
I know, always
I'm
it's
using the
so
wrong last name.
affirming.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And but like even trying to dig into it, yes, but please tell me the source where you found that. And
Hmm.
it couldn't.
Yeah.
And so, even something as basic as that. So
Hmm.
you can imagine when you get into complex concepts, or things that might change frequently, AI is a lot less reliable right now.
Yeah. And so just like we say, like not everything you see on the internet is true. Not everything you get from AI is right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And can we also quickly go over what you absolutely should not be using ChatGPT or any of the other AI platforms for as a therapist?
Yeah, well, I think that goes into talking about HIPAA,
Hmm.
because
Okay,
really
perfectly.
that's kind of what is informing this answer, right?
Hmm.
So, um, Thankfully, different from when I talk about documentation, where so many requirements are vague and I'm kind of giving recommendations, right? And
Mm-hmm.
options. This is actually a lot more concrete. We have actual laws and very clear guidelines around how to use AI. So, HIPAA is very specific that you need to use a HIPAA secure system anytime you're using like an electronic system for client data, right? So, we're
Mm-hmm.
all used to doing that with a practice management system or an EHR. That is a HIPAA secure system as long as you get a BAA, a business associate agreement. So as a clinician, it's not that hard. You need your business associate agreement and you need to make sure that that system is HIPAA secure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we're used to that, and most clinicians are aware of that. The thing that clinicians are doing incorrectly, and that also we have very clear guidance from HIPAA on, is identifying information. So PHI, right? We all know that we shouldn't, I think most clinicians know, I shouldn't go into ChatGPT and tell it all about my client, right?
Right.
And try to get a progress note that way. However, I will hear a lot of clinicians tell me, well, I'm using ChatGPT to create a treatment plan for my clients or a progress note, but I de identify the data. That's what they tell me. I'm de identifying the data.
Mm-hmm.
And according to HIPAA, that is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's really what I want people to hear is that if you are not using the same criteria for AI as you're using for your EHR, then you are using it unethically and likely illegally as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to do that.
Right.
And the good news is there are tons of some of good options
Mm-hmm.
that are paid, that are HIPAA secure, that you can use ethically to do progress notes, to literally talk with an AI about your client's symptoms and diagnosis and dig into things. So you can do it ethically. You cannot do it ethically with ChatGPT or
Right.
Gemini or Claude or all of
Uh-huh.
these other systems that I think are better at doing other things. Like if you do email marketing, yeah, go for it. Use
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, use Claude, like get some ideas from them, but don't use it for client data.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically what HIPAA says is it has these 18 identifiers, which I think a lot of us are kind of familiar with. So those are the things like name, age, phone number. It really specifically identifies when we say identifying information, here's what we're telling you it is. And
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are like numbers. They're pretty easy. And that's when people say I'm de-identifying my note. They think I'm taking the name out. I don't
Right.
put their city name. But the last one, number 18, is any other identifying characteristic. And so when I have talked with any attorney, any AI expert and any ethics expert um, in the field, they have all explicitly said a progress note is inherently identifying
Mm-hmm.
characteristics. And
Yes.
so you cannot write a de identified progress note.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say, like, please, please, please do not use ChatGPT. Do not use a free platform that is not giving you a BAA
Mm-hmm.
for individual progress notes or
Yes.
templates or anything that would go into an individual client file.
Yes. I had like a temporary Reddit addiction for a little while and I had to just delete it. But while on there, I saw a story. It was like ask a therapist thread. And somebody had said, I had this rupture with my therapist because at one point he was sharing a screen to do like to show me something and he forgot to stop sharing. And then he was entering in what I was saying to Chat GPT to give him responses. And I was watching the whole thing happen and didn't know what to do, like didn't call him out on it, sent him an email later. And he apologized, but like I don't think I want to go back to him. We were all like, don't go back to him. But I mean, things like that I can't imagine doing. But like I also am not a baby therapist who's learning how to do this with this technology right here that could help me feel more confident in the way I was treating my clients, slash being a huge crutch in how I'm treating my clients. So I want to point that out as like, don't do that, y'all. But like all of HIPAA just got wrecked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it is there for a reason, right?
Uh-huh.
That's such a good example of it's not there to be annoying.
Hmm.
And it's not there simply because hackers exist either. It's
Right.
there because a lot of this really does have to do with consent and discussing these things with your clients and allowing them to have some say in how things are going and in how you work.
Hmm.
Um, and it can create ruptures really, really easily
Yeah.
if people find out later how you're using their data or that you don't know what you're doing, right?
Hmm.
And like we've all been there and
Hmm.
we're all there now with AI. I'm right here with you. I just have more information at the at this
Yeah.
stage, but it's going to be different in 2 months. So,
Hmm.
um, so I don't want people to feel bad because often they are using these strategies when I'm
Hmm.
doing a talk or something like this. Um, but this is your information to now do differently. And yeah, if you need clinical support, you still need to talk to a human,
Hmm.
get consultation, talk to
Yes,
another clinician.
absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned, things are always changing. We like our laws, our ethics can't keep up with technology, so they always come a little later. And I know there's recent trends in AI, like not using AI in mental health care. Can we talk some about like at Michigan? Is that the first state that passed that? Is it Michigan or
Illinois.
Illinois? That's it.
Yes. So Illinois
Yeah.
passed a law just a couple weeks ago that explicitly describes how AI can't be used for mental health services.
Hmm.
So, I'm sure that many people have heard of there have been multiple negative consequences of people using Chat GPT as their therapist.
Hmm.
And so from a constituent standpoint, politicians are recognizing that this is an issue, right?
Hmm.
This is coming up and we need to get in front of it. And also that um tech companies, for better or worse, work on a very different type of ethics mindset than we
Hmm.
do. And they are not centering privacy or security.
Hmm.
They center innovation.
Right.
And we also want to be open to innovation, but we want to be more mindful of the other two.
Hmm.
So, in that way, I think that this has been a positive trend politically that a lot of states are looking at that and wanting to actually protect consumer data as well. So, a
Yeah.
lot of this is coming from that perspective,
Hmm.
but also from uh, anyway, so the laws are getting into talking about, can, for example, ChatGPT even say that they have a chat therapist? Can any tech company say they have a chat therapist? So Illinois says no.
Hmm.
That Illinois has become the most strict so far. I think it's Nevada and Utah also have laws on AI, but it has more to do with um, consumer protection of data,
Hmm.
whereas Illinois is the one that specifically says AI cannot be publicized or like promoted to be your therapist. Tech companies, you are not allowed to do that, and it's your responsibility to make sure that consumers are not using it in that way, which is a pretty big deal.
Hmm.
It also gives guidelines for us.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say AI is all bad. It cannot be used in any way, shape, or form. It says if it's used in a mental health setting, it needs to be monitored by a clinician. And clinicians, it does state that clinicians can't use it as like a chatbot either.
Hmm.
So that's been something that's been discussed about like, oh, well, what if my clients kind of had access to me throughout the week, right? And they could talk to this chatbot that I've, directed to give certain responses. So Illinois explicitly says no, that anything that clinicians can use it in care, but they have to be monitoring it. They have to approve everything that would be produced and presented to clients or used with clients.
Hmm. Got it. Yeah, I'm excited about those laws. I mean, I feel like there's some parts that might not be enforceable, right? Like, I don't know how you enforce that. Like, if I'm a 18-year
Yes.
old, freshman and I don't want to talk to a person and I go on ChatGPT and I'm in Illinois, like, I could still use it as therapy, but they can't advertise it as therapy.
And even the attorney general in Illinois admitted that and was
Mhm.
saying, I think this law is a great idea and I have no idea how we're going to enforce it. And we need to
Right.
look at that.
Uh-huh.
So, yes,
Yeah.
that is definitely a limitation.
I love it. They're like, we're stating a principle here. We'll figure the rest
Basically.
out later. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And our ethics codes don't give us a lot of guidance. I know most of them are rewriting their
Hmm.
codes right now. And there are different stages of that. But because of AI and wanting to put in something, and psychologists like me, APA always gives us the least amount of guidance possible, which is very helpful in some ways and very not
Uh-huh.
helpful in others.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas like NASW already has very explicit technology guidelines and actually encourages social workers to investigate and learn about new technologies and make sure that they're using technologies that increase accessibility, for example.
Hmm.
Um, so I do think there will be some variance there, but for the most part, our ethics guidelines are really stating this is still very new, it's changing. So we're not going to give you really definitive guidelines. The overarching guideline is you need client consent in
Hmm.
order to use AI for client records or work with clients in any way. And I think that's the one that will across the board be the most consistent. And that's already consistent with our current guidelines, right? Like we
Hmm.
don't need our ethics guidelines, any of us, to change to know that if we're doing something new and innovative, we're supposed to inform clients of that fact. That's
Right.
already
Right.
something that's inherent to what we do.
So let's talk about how to do that, both for current clients that we might want to use new technology with and newbies coming in. Like
Yes.
they need to sign certain paperwork. I believe you need to have an actual conversation too. I'm not real big on like hiding things you don't want to talk about in the paperwork.
What? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So this is something that I think makes people nervous. A lot of people that are coming to me for help with documentation, it's because they're struggling with documentation. So my
Hmm.
my audience is pretty open to AI because they're like, please, God, save me, right?
Yes.
Is there something that can make this easier?
Uh-huh.
Um, and then that is where the hang up is,
Hmm.
oh, but I'm nervous to talk to my clients about it. So really, if I can give you anything other than do not use ChatGPT for
Uh-huh.
documentation, it's do talk with your clients about it in any capacity. So even if you're using it behind the scenes and you just use AI in your EHR, because a lot of the EHRs have AI now,
Hmm.
and you're just kind of using it a little bit to improve your notes after the fact, and your clients really don't have any awareness of it, you still need to get their client consent. I would say that's the most consistent thing I've seen from ethics guidelines so far.
Hmm.
So let's not, like you said, kind of toy around with it and be like, well, but this I'm just doing back. No, you need client consent. So get your client's consent. So how do you do that? Um, Honestly, just bring it up with them. Most clinicians I work with, 100% of their clients say, yeah, sure, no problem.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like a 30-second conversation
Yeah.
that then the clinician was freaking out about and very nervous to have.
Yeah.
So overwhelmingly, people are more open than the therapist community is
Hmm.
to AI.
Yep.
And people are used to seeing it everywhere now. That doesn't mean that certain clients might say no, obviously, and that's their right to do so. Again,
Hmm.
a great reason to talk to them about it. But I want to alleviate some of that pressure because most likely all or most of your clients will just say yeah and not even have any questions.
Hmm.
So keep it very simple and just say something like, I'd like to start using AI to help with my notes, or you can introduce, that I take notes about our sessions. Um, I have a HIPAA compliant system that I know is really secure, and I'd like to start using AI to help with your notes.
Hmm.
And just leave it at that. And then if people have questions, then you can either answer those questions, or if you don't know the answer, that's okay. You don't feel like you have to know how this whole AI process works before you have this conversation with people. Just say,
Right.
hey, that's a great question. Actually, I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to go back and check with the company and then email
Hmm.
them and say, my client had this question. How should I
Yeah.
answer? Because we're in a unique position right now where these AI companies want to help us as clinicians because
Hmm.
they are making money off of this and they have the potential to make a lot of money off
Yeah.
of it. And so they want their system to be good. That is
Mhm.
the good thing about what a lot of these tech companies are doing is they want to be the best one. And a lot of them are kind of in this race to be the best AI for mental health services. So give them the feedback, ask them questions. They should reach out to you and help you and answer any questions that you do have and help you with talking to your clients about it. Um, Most of them also have a consent form
Hmm.
that you can download. So I actually don't have one yet as
Hmm.
part of like my book or paperwork packet or anything, but um, almost all of them have one that you can download. There's no criteria, right? So I don't even think that Illinois law states that you have to get signed consent, as an
Hmm.
example.
Okay.
Um, I think it's a best practice. I would still do it. It feels a little more official when you have someone sign a form,
Hmm.
but absolutely have the conversation with people. Use a form at least to know what kind of bullet points to cover with people,
Hmm.
and then also document having that conversation with people.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing. It's really not likely to be a big deal for your
Yeah.
clients.
And I think you're right. Like, we're so much more hesitant. I remember like years ago, an AI documentation company reached out to me and said, we'd like to sponsor the podcast. And I was like, there's no way any therapist is going to let you listen in on their therapy sessions. Like, that's never ever going to happen. Like, maybe some doctors' offices will, but like, I'm not comfortable bringing that in. And now I'm very happily using AI documentation in my own sessions. And yeah, I think it's just we are not the quickest on the uptake with a lot of technology in general as therapists. And I think that we value the privacy of our clients so much that sometimes we make assumptions about what's truly private and what's not. And if you're in one of these HIPAA compliant systems, like, you're checking all the boxes. Like you were saying, like, that last criteria makes ChatGPT of PHI makes ChatGPT a no-go. That means these other HIPAA compliant services meets everything that it needs to. Like, they've covered those bases. So,
Yeah, and they should. And I will say, I don't want to end things on a scary note, right?
mhm,
And I have been very open to AI since the beginning because so many of my clients were interested in it, my clinician clients.
mhm,
And I've become a little bit more hesitant
mhm,
about like going all in because you want to ask these tech companies questions.
mhm,
Um, And just because you have a BAA does not always mean that they are acting ethically or even according to HIPAA.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I guess we see
and
that with big therapy tech. So, like, why would this
yes,
be different?
exactly.
Hmm.
Like we have seen this with big EHRs recently as tech companies have started taking over certain companies that were started by clinicians, right? And this is the same environment. I will say I have personally met with most of these AI companies with the founders, and the vast majority of them are really good people with
Hmm.
seemingly really good intentions, and they're not clinicians.
Right.
So it's very easy for them to have a different mindset about things. So all I would recommend for people, you don't have to become a tech expert. Like even I am spending a lot of time trying to stay up on this stuff. I can't explain to you all the technology. Guess what? Neither can the developers. They can't explain to you how it all works, right? Um,
Hmm.
but push back and ask them questions. So you
Hmm.
do want to ask them questions about things like, how is my client's data being used?
Hmm.
Is
Yes.
it, and tech companies will often use a phrase called anonymized instead of and they are saying that knowing that you're thinking de-identified. It is not the same thing. De-identified is a literal legal definition per HIPAA.
Hmm.
Anonymized is a more random thing that tech companies do that's better than nothing, but it's not the same. So they will use kind of certain lingo to appease you, but you have the right to ask, like, what are you doing with
Hmm.
my data? Is this client's information being saved? And it's a balance where for an AI to become better and to get to know your client and get to know how you write and then improve that over time and offer you suggestions about how to treat your client, which many people have said is extremely helpful, it has to save that data and use it
Hmm.
over time. So, where is that data being stored? Is it on a server? How is it being used? Is it being scrambled in the background and then compiled with other people's data? Right? There are some things that you want to ask um, these companies and just see what they have the what answers they give you and
Yeah.
how they're willing to work with you. So for those of you who are a little nervous about it, ask them ask them
Hmm.
directly, because they again they actually do want those questions. They want to know what are potential barriers to people using the platforms,
Hmm.
and so they will work with you. And as you get answers from different tech companies, right, from different AI companies, you'll be able to determine, oh, okay, I really like the way this company approached answering my question versus, company B. So I'm going to use company A because guess what? There's already so many of these platforms that like I can't even keep up
Right.
with reviewing them. So
Right.
that will help you, narrow things down as far as which one to use.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. Y'all can go to qaprep.com. I love your session note catch-ups that you do, where if you're behind on notes, Melissa, are those quarterly? It feels quarterly to me, but every now and then you'll do a catch-up where you help people catch up on their notes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
that's
do a
a
semester cohort. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. So I love that every time it comes into my inbox. I'm like, yes, people are gonna feel so good when they're done with this. Because we all know how bad that, well, not all of us, but most of us probably know how bad it feels to be behind on notes. So amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.